My brother and I suddenly received two systems, one for 100x amplification and another for 100x reduction. My brother smiled and chose the 100x reduction system, so I could only pick the one that was left. Unexpectedly, 3 days later, the storm apocalypse arrived. Everyone was trapped in their homes, and resources became the biggest problem. I, relying on the amplification system, magnified all our scarce supplies, living frugally. Finally, I overcame the hardships with my brother, but I never expected him to push me from a tall building after the storm ended. If you hadn't taken the amplification system from me, I could have used it to magnify things and help my sister's family. Brother, you're good at everything, but you're too selfish. Upon rebirth, my brother beat me to it and chose the amplification system. I knew immediately that he had been reborn too. I smiled. I used the reduction system to shrink enough food for 5 years, and at the same time, I shrank myself. Just like that, I disappeared from everyone's sight. Opening my eyes again, I had returned to the day of choosing the system. Please, choose your system. Amplification system. System linked. Now the amplification system is mine. I finally understood I had been reborn on the very day my brother and I chose the systems. If you like your sister Lou so much and hate this brother who saved your life to the bone, then this time I won't worry about you anymore. I'll take the reduction system, okay? Amplification system. Can it really amplify? My brother, facing his new system, was incredibly excited and amplified a cup next to him 100 times. The small cup instantly turned into a giant one. It's the real amplification system. Really? It's mine. This is the brother I protected by risking my life. In my past life, the storm apocalypse came suddenly. Everyone was trapped in their homes with scarce supplies. At my house, there were still a few boxes of instant noodles and bread. I used the amplification system to magnify them, helping us barely get by. During the 5 years of the storm, my brother's childhood love, Lu Yao, asked for help. We lived across the hall, and my brother begged me to help her family amplify their food. But I refused, with the excuse that people's hearts are unpredictable in the apocalypse. Without my help, Lu Yao's family, of course, didn't last 5 years and starved to death. I survived the apocalypse, only to die at the hands of the brother I tried so hard to protect. How ironic. Brother, the amplification system is mine now. Aren't you envious? After all, I can amplify whatever I want. And what good is your reduction system? It's just a system. If you like it, keep it. I don't care. Seeing that I showed no interest in the amplification system, my brother finally smiled in relief. I knew that this time, he would definitely go save the family across the hall. And once someone found out about this system, he wouldn't be safe in the apocalypse. Everyone would covet this system. My brother believed that with the amplification system, he could magnify food, so he wasn't worried about the impending apocalyptic storm. He even looked forward to it. He hoped to appear as a hero to save his childhood sweetheart, Lu Yao's family, and make her fall in love with him. I always thought he just had a crush on Lu Yao. I never imagined he was such a hopeless romantic. Brother, tell me, if I save Lu Yao's family, will she fall in love with me? She won't. Impossible. Sister Lu will like me, for sure. Brother, tell me the truth, you like Sister Lu. But you're 2 years older than her, don't even dream of it. I ignored my brother's words, just lowered my head to buy the things I needed online. I was already killed once by my brother, and I wouldn't let it happen again. Hey brother, do you have any money left? Lend me a few tens of thousands, I want to buy some food. Some food? I don't have any. I just bought a refrigerator, spent all my money. What did you buy a refrigerator for? What? Can I get a new refrigerator? Why are you reacting like that? No, nothing, I was just curious. Hey brother, I remember you still had some food in your room. No. I gave it to the lonely elderly people in the neighborhood. Anyway, their lives aren't easy. You won't get mad, will you? I didn't expect that my brother, in this new life, would not only get the amplification system he wanted, but also give away my last supplies. Clearly, this was to push me to my death. If I hadn't been reborn, without a system, I wouldn't have survived this apocalyptic storm. Seeing my brother smile so radiantly, my aversion for him grew. I believed I treated my brother very well. Our parents died when we were little, and as the older brother, I took on the responsibility of a father. I left school early so he could study. He wasn't good at his studies, and I never scolded him. His allowance was always much larger than his friends. I earned all that money by working myself to exhaustion. Later, my brother didn't get into college, while I, through my own effort, bought an apartment in the city. So I brought him to live with me, but I never expected that his childhood sweetheart, Lu Yao, would live in the apartment across the hall. As children, they often played together. Then, Lu Yao's family home was expropriated. They received a large compensation and moved out of the village. But as soon as my brother saw the beautiful Lu Yao, he fell in love instantly and began to pursue her relentlessly. Even during the apocalyptic storm, when I refused to help her family, he, taking advantage of my absence, secretly shared our supplies with them. Because of that, I had no choice but to lock my room to prevent him from stealing more. It turns out that in my brother's eyes, I was worth less than a woman who owed him no gratitude. I was completely disappointed in him. I'm a little tired. I'm going to sleep. You should get to sleep early too. Turning around, I hid in my room and started planning a shelter for myself. I even bought a wind generator so I could have a constant power source during the storm. I had already prepared everything necessary. Now I just had to wait quietly. During the remaining time, my brother, believing he had the amplification system, didn't worry at all. He used his money to buy about 100 yuan worth of food and locked it in his room, as if he was afraid I would steal it. I decided to completely abandon this apartment I had bought. If I kept hiding here, it was very likely I would be found. That's why I set my sights on another place, a false wall in my bedroom. It was a small room I had specially built during remodeling. I had never told my brother about this place. The room wasn't large, about the size of a small bathroom, but for me, after shrinking, it was a safe haven. The switch for the room required going through a device on my phone, so I wasn't worried about my brother discovering it. Even if he did, he couldn't open it. Additionally, I drove to a vacant lot more than 10 kilometers away to use the system and shrink a pile of soil. That way, when the time came, I could use it with seeds to grow vegetables and be self-sufficient. I also shrank some trees to take with me. In the blink of an eye, all the food and supplies I ordered had arrived. At that point, there was only 1 day left before the storm. I set the delivery address to the country house where I used to live. That village had been abandoned for a long time. Almost no one lived there. The house was full of furniture, appliances, food, and all sorts of items, taking advantage of the fact that no one was around. I used the system to shrink everything and put it in a box I had prepared. In the end, I hesitated a bit, but I decided to shrink the house as well and take it with me. Although it was a bit old, it was livable with some remodeling. Taking advantage of the dark night, I drove back home and put everything in the secret room. My brother had been very excited these past few days, believing he was completely prepared, so he paid no attention to my movements. Inside the secret room, I had already arranged everything. The air filtration system was good. I wouldn't have to worry about oxygen even after several years. There were also 5 bottles of mineral water. I didn't shrink them, but emptied them into a small tub, which would serve as my water source. Inside, I also installed electric lights, and I could control the switch with my phone. After a night of careful decorating, the secret room had been completely transformed into a small farm. The almost inaudible chirping of the miniature chicks could be heard as they pecked at worms in the grass. Outside the farm was my small house, with all kinds of appliances. Now, I could finally wait for the storm in peace. On the last afternoon, my brother ran to Lu Yao's house again. Her family didn't seem to like him much, but he didn't care about their opinion. He insisted on going into Lu Yao's room. Room across the hall. That brat is shameless. He's already grown up and goes into my daughter's room every day. He has no shame. I think he likes your daughter, Mom. You've practically got a son-in-law. I know he couldn't even get into college. He's over 20 and doesn't even have a decent job, living off his brother all day. With that look of a deadbeat, he wants to marry my daughter, in his dreams. My daughter is tall, beautiful, and has a job. He's not in her league. I said nothing, pretending I hadn't heard. There was 1 hour left until the storm. I called my brother. Something came up at the company. He'll be working overtime tonight and won't be back. Okay, then he'll be alone tonight. I knew he wouldn't even remind me to be careful. Anyway, my call was just a distraction to make him think I had left home. Finally, I used my phone to open the secret room in the bedroom. I shrank myself and went inside, closing the door. Once again, I used the reduction system, only this time it wasn't on an object, but on me. I felt an overwhelming dizziness, and then I was completely shrunken. The room, which was narrow before, now seemed especially spacious. I dared to shrink myself because in my previous life, I realized that things magnified by the system magically returned to their original size when the storm ceased. So I guess the same would happen with the reduction system. After the storm, the system would lose its effect, returning everything to its original size. Looking at the land, the plants, the chicks, the house, my heart felt incredibly full. Now I no longer had to worry about the storm. Taking advantage of my brother's absence, I installed hidden cameras in the house and in the hallway outside. This way, from my phone, I could watch all the movements inside and outside the house on video, just to be safe. I even installed one outside Lu Yao's door. These cameras were of very high quality. The image was sharp, and even the slightest sound could be heard clearly. When I finished, I put my phone away, took a hoe, and went to the field to work the land. After plowing, I planted the seeds. Then I spread fertilizer and watered a little. A flock of chicks surrounded me, pecking at my feet. I shooed them away with my hand. I opened a bag of chicken feed and gave them some to eat. Through my phone, I knew the storm had already begun, but people hadn't yet realized that this rain wouldn't stop. Many were complaining on social media that it was raining too much and they couldn't go to work. Now I was isolated from the world. My only contact with the outside was this phone. Besides my computer and my tablet, several days passed. The storm didn't let up and caused huge traffic problems. Regarding my disappearance, my brother wasn't surprised. He probably thought I had died in the flood. These days, I spent my time on my little farm, plowing, growing vegetables, feeding the chickens. My only worry was that the chicks were eating the sprouts I planted. In my free time, I turned on the camera and saw that my brother had brought Lu Yao to my house again. They were sitting in the living room. "Sister, do you still have any food at home?" "Not much. If I had known, I would have stored more. Now the first floor is about to flood. I can't get out." "Yang, do you have food at your house? Could you share a little?" "My parents and my brother are still at my house. That little bit of food isn't enough for everyone. I have an amplification system. I can magnify food 100 times. "Impossible. Does something like that exist?" "Of course it does. If you don't believe me, watch this." Yang, it's great that you're here then. Please, help me magnify all the food in my house." "Of course, Sister Lu. But I have a small request. Tell me, you know I like you, right, Sister Lu? If I can save your whole family, could you fall in love with me?" "What silly things are you saying? We've been close for so long, you know, we're childhood sweethearts. So of course I like you now too. When the storm is over, I'll marry you." "That's great. I knew Sister Lu liked me too. My brother said you wouldn't like me. I think he's just jealous." "And where is your brother?" "He said he went to work overtime. With this storm going on for so long, he probably already drowned." "No." A flash of malice crossed Lu Yao's face, and then she coaxed my brother into taking all the supplies out of his room. I watched the camera with a whirlwind of emotions in my heart. How could I have such a foolish brother? And not just foolish, but also so cruel, as if he wished that I, his older brother, would just die. But what does any of this have to do with me? Anyway, I'm hidden here. No one can find out. I just need to live my little life in peace, and that's it. I returned home, made myself a stew, took a soda from the refrigerator, and happily began to enjoy my dinner, eating and drinking as I pleased. I even took a picture of the food and posted it on my social media with the caption, "It's pouring outside, but eating stew at home is a real pleasure." I didn't expect my brother to comment on my post immediately. "Bro, where are you?" As if the comment wasn't enough, my brother sent me several messages on WeChat. "Bro, with this heavy rain, you're doing okay? Where are you? And you're eating stew. I want some too. Can you tell me where you are? It's raining too hard. I can't go out. Bring me something to eat." I didn't answer any of his questions. I just took a picture of the soda I was drinking and sent it to him with the text, "The soda is delicious, and the stew is nice and hot and tasty too." My brother called me on the phone immediately. "Bro, how are you eating stew? Can you bring me some? I've been eating bread for days. I'm still at the office. This stew is a treat from the company." "Yeah, it's raining really hard. I can't come back. Find something to eat at home." "No, bro. The bread at home is awful. I want stew too." He wanted to say more, but I hung up on him. I opened the security camera, and sure enough, I saw my brother. Furious with the phone, he no longer had that docile appearance from before. Pretending to be a good boy for so many years must have been exhausting for him. Without another thought, I turned on my tablet and started watching shows. I had saved 100 novels, animes, and dramas, enough to kill time during these boring days, after eating and drinking to my heart's content. I lay down on the bed to rest. I took my phone, opened the surveillance app, and switched to the camera outside Lu Yao's house, where Yang was. Incredible. This way, our family won't have to worry about food anymore. We really found a treasure. It seems their family already knew my brother had the amplification system. Auntie, you flatter me. Being able to use this system to save your family is my wish too, after all. Well, become a family. The atmosphere suddenly went silent, and Lu Yao's parents praised him again. That's right, if it weren't for Yang Yang, how would we have so much food? Being with you is her blessing. I've been saying it, this boy looks so adorable. My brother, dizzy from their flattery, had already lost his mind. I let out a cold laugh and turned off the camera. I know perfectly well what kind of people Lu Yao's family are. That year, when they received the expropriation compensation money, they immediately started looking down on everyone, insulting and distancing themselves from all their relatives and friends. They always felt people were approaching them for the compensation money. Many people in town said they had gotten big-headed. They wouldn't even give the village chief a glass of water. How could people like that treat my brother with sincerity? And then there was that Lu Yao. Since she was a child, I saw her as arrogant. She had spoken ill of my brother many times. Deep down, she didn't respect him, but I couldn't interfere in their affairs. After all, I was now 100 times smaller. Shortly after, my brother's phone rang. Bro, I have good news. Lu Yao and I are together now. Why are you calling me? The chicks had grown a bit, but they were still chirping non-stop, constantly fighting. For food. Bro, why do I hear chickens on your end? Why, I'm feeding them. With this rain, where did you get chickens? I didn't answer his question directly. The meat I had bought before was stored in the freezer, enough to eat for a long time. Bro, where are you really? Why, where are you? You can eat stew and also raise chickens. Weren't you affected by the storm? No, you weren't affected by the storm. Then tell me quickly where you are. It'll bring Lu Yao and her family. We'll be a family anyway. Find me yourself. If you find me, come. What do you mean by that? You don't want us to come? I, his older brother, who had always given him everything he asked for since he was a child, was speaking to him in such a sarcastic tone for the first time. I nudged a chick out of my way with my foot and walked from the field to the house. My refrigerator contained a lot of pre-cooked food, including pizza, buns, steamed bread, and dumplings. I turned on the electric fan and took the baked pizza out of the microwave. The reheated pizza was golden, looked delicious and soft. I took a picture of it and sent it to my brother. Bro, how do you have pizza too? Do you know how miserable my life is now? Come and get me now, you selfish jerk. In our past life, when you pushed me down the stairs, weren't you the selfish one? Eating pizza. That pizza smells incredible, the cheese is all stringy and everything, but no matter how well you're doing, your food is limited. What good is your miniaturization system? My amplification system can make your food bigger, and then we could eat for years without a problem. Just tell me where you are already. I'm going to look for you. If you find me, then come. Watching my brother rage helplessly on the security camera, destroying everything in my room, shortly after, the news that my brother had an amplification system spread throughout the entire neighborhood. As for who spread it, needless to say. My brother's room door was knocked on again and again. Everyone brought what little food they had, hoping he could help them amplify it. My brother was a little nervous at first. He even thought about pretending he didn't have a system to get away with it, but Lu Yao's family from across the way came out immediately. Hey, Jiang is our family's future son-in-law. If you want to use the system, you need our permission every time Jiang uses it. The system consumes a lot of energy, you have to pay. At first, Jiang was a little angry that Lu Yao's parents told others about his system, but upon hearing this, he immediately became happy. That's right. Jiang is my boyfriend. If you ask him to work, you have to pay. So be it. Lu Yao's family, relying on my brother, started a business. Every person who asked to use the amplification system had to give Lu Yao 2,000 yuan. 2,000 yuan isn't cheap, but in this rain apocalypse, everyone's supplies are scarce and money can't buy food. It seemed like a win-win business, but through the security camera, I realized that people seeking out my brother to use the system were becoming more and more frequent. This meant they also believed that as long as my brother had the amplification system, they would never starve. But they overlooked one thing. The system could amplify food, but the condition was that you had to have food to begin with. The system could only be used once on the same object. It wasn't possible to eat half, save the other, and use the system again to generate infinite food. 3 full years passed. In the neighborhood, thanks to my brother's amplification system, no one starved to death. So everyone let their guard down and started living recklessly. And at the end of the 3rd year, the crisis finally arrived. The food in everyone's homes had run out, and even amplified by my brother's system, it wasn't enough. Resources were extremely limited, and the amplification system no longer had any advantage. So the neighborhood became more and more chaotic, with fights and arguments everywhere over supplies. My brother had moved into Lu Yao's house a long time ago and had become one of their family. Through the surveillance, I knew that Lu Yao's family also knew that fewer and fewer people were seeking my brother to use his system, and that the business was no longer profitable. But my brother was still in their house, which caused their displeasure. They planned to find an excuse to kick him out. So Lu Yao turned around and asked my brother to break up. "I don't love you anymore. Let's break up." My brother cried his heart out, trying desperately to hold on to her, but the whole family threw him out on the street. In this rainy apocalypse, nobody cared who my brother loved. Everyone only looked out for their own interests. My brother could only cry and scream in front of their door. After a day and a night, he returned to my house, dejected. But by then, the house had already been emptied by Lu Yao's family. All the food my brother had stored had also been taken to their house. Now this house was just an empty shell. Although my brother went to cause a scene at their door, in the end, he only received insults. It was impossible for them to return the food. My brother finally started to panic, and at that moment, what was I doing? I was living my quiet little life on my small farm. If I was hungry, I'd pick some vegetables and meat and stir-fry them. If I didn't want to cook, I'd take pre-cooked food from the refrigerator. I'd heat it up, and that was it. In my free time, I could even make myself a drink. Every day, the first thing I did upon waking was to feed the chickens, then I'd make myself breakfast. And then I'd go to the farm to observe. I had planted a large plot of vegetables, potatoes, eggplants, tomatoes, corn, and so on. If I got sleepy at noon, I'd take a nap. And when I woke up, I'd watch shows, anime, and eat whatever I wanted. The only slightly difficult thing was that there were no insects here. So I had to pollinate each vegetable plant by hand, but those were minor problems. After 3 years with no news from me, my brother's phone rang tentatively. He probably thought I was dead, but to his surprise, I answered. "Bro, you're alive, that's great. I thought the storm had killed you." As I bit into a cucumber and watched a movie on my tablet, the sound of my chewing was very crunchy. "Why are you calling me?" "Bro, you have no idea how Lu Yao's family treated me. They used my amplification system to make money. Now that no one is looking for me to use the system, they kicked me out of their house. Lu Yao clearly said she would marry me, and now she wants to break up. Her whole family are opportunists. They've hurt me badly. Now I have nothing to eat at home." I see. Bro, can you come get me? I'll really starve to death if I don't eat anything. You don't want to see your only brother starve to death, right? Brother, that's impossible. Bro, why don't you care about me? The you from before wasn't like this. Did you reincarnate too? Yes, so what? If you reincarnated too, then tell me. You must know what Lu Yao and her family are like. Why are you so selfish? I didn't say anything more. I just recorded a video and sent it to him. In the video, my vegetables were growing lushly. A group of chickens was running all over the place. The house was warmly decorated, and the refrigerator was full of food and snacks. It didn't look at all like a place devastated by the storm. It was like another world. As soon as I sent the video, my brother exploded with anger. Why are you so selfish? Do you know how miserable my life is now? Come and get me already. Selfish? In our past life, when you pushed me down the stairs, weren't you the selfish one? Now it's clear you were reincarnated. You knew about the storm and never told me. Isn't that selfish? My brother seemed to take my kindness for granted, but he never thought about how to repay me. I'm not a saint either. Since you don't consider me family, I have no reason to save you, brother. I was a fool to be mesmerized by that light. You can't abandon me. I'm your only brother. We have no other family. Then just die. What does that have to do with me? With that said, I hung up. I could imagine how furious my brother was on the other end of the line. Through the cameras, I could see him frantically smashing things in the house all day, especially my room. Everything inside was destroyed, but breaking things doesn't fill your stomach. No matter how much he vented, it was useless. One day, I found out my brother had brought some bread. Through the door camera, I realized it was food stolen from Lu Yao's house. Lu Yao's entire family had gone out, leaving only Lu Yao's 6-year-old brother. My brother tricked the boy into opening the door and then stole all the food from their house. Seeing this scene on the surveillance camera, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. It was a true dog-eat-dog spectacle, so brilliant I almost died laughing. As expected, when the family returned and found all their food gone, they were enraged, banging and kicking my door, hurling all sorts of insults. My brother was like a turtle in its shell, hiding inside, unwilling to come out. My front door is very sturdy, the best shock-proof kind that I specially chose when decorating. That's why, even though the Liu family was outside banging and cursing for 3 days and 3 nights, they posed no threat to my brother inside. Oh, my love, I really don't know what came over me. Don't be mad at me anymore. Give us back the food. Let's make up, okay? Everything I said before was out of anger. I actually still love you. We even promised to get married. Have you forgotten? Through the door, Lu Yao whispered sweet words to my brother. At first, my brother hesitated, but he didn't expect Lu Yao to say those apologetic words for 2 whole days, promising she would never be so impulsive again. My brother, with his hand on the doorknob, couldn't help but smile. I knew immediately that he was starting to give in. The next scene was something he really couldn't bear to watch. As soon as my brother opened the door, he was knocked to the ground by a punch from Lu Yao's brother, who was hiding outside. In the end, he could only clutch his head in pain, watching helplessly as their whole family took all the food. Once again, before leaving, Lu Yao's father gave my brother a hard kick to the head. What a clingy guy. Someone like you wants to marry my daughter? Keep dreaming. I didn't think a man like you had such a rotten heart. You even dared to steal my things. That was my food. Lu Yao also kicked my brother out of the way, taking all the food to her house. Thud. Pfft. Running into you is the worst luck ever. My brother lay motionless in front of the door for 2 days until he finally regained the strength to get up. He squatted, hugging his knees, and cried for a long time, even though he now had the amplifier system. It was useless. He didn't have a single crumb of food left. In his moment of greatest desperation, he called me. Brother, they've beaten me. They gave me a terrible beating. My whole body hurts. Brother, can you come save me? It really hurts, and I'm hungry too. I wonder if they broke my bones. If this had happened before, my heart would have undoubtedly ached for my brother. I would have wished I could bear all his suffering for him, but now, hearing him cry, I didn't feel a shred of compassion. You deserve it, I said, and hung up. I turned around and went to the field to harvest corn, and just like that, the days passed one after another. My brother lay in front of his door, growing more and more emaciated. During that time, quite a few people passed by and forced him to use the amplifier system to multiply their food, even though my brother didn't want to. After a few slaps, he had no choice but to obey. Until the last moment of his life, he dragged himself to Lu Yao's door, where his head fell and he died. Lu Yao opened the door, found my brother's body, and kicked it aside in disgust, not caring in the least about his life or death. Another 2 years passed. The heavy rains had already flooded the lower floors, but just as I had foreseen in my past life, they posed no threat to our floor. Just in the months before the end of the flood, Lu Yao's family was massacred. Since their family already had a bad reputation in the neighborhood, and they had also unfairly enriched themselves at my brother's expense, there were already people who held a grudge against them. In the last few months before the rains ended, everyone's provisions had run out, but someone, it's unknown who, sent a message to the residents' chat saying that Lu Yao's house still had a lot of food. So quite a few people took up arms and organized themselves into groups. They went to their door, banging and cursing, demanding that they hand over their provisions. The Lu Yao family not only refused, but they insulted everyone. This completely infuriated them. Several groups agreed to take turns, banging on their door. The sound didn't stop day or night, and finally, after 4 days, the main door of Lu Yao's house was completely destroyed and all the food in their house was looted. The entire family sat on the floor crying, with nothing to eat. It was impossible for them to survive these last few months. Chaos reigned in the neighborhood, while I, on my small farm, ate and drank as I pleased, and even gained 5 kilos. I held out until the last moment. News appeared on my phone that the rains had ended. The sun finally broke through the thousands of layers of gloomy clouds. A brilliant golden light fell upon the earth, bringing a ray of hope. I was plowing the land for corn in the field when I felt a magical change in my body. My body, which had shrunk, suddenly grew, and I returned to my normal size. The farm and the house at my feet now looked incredibly small. I used my phone to open the secret room and saw the messy house. How strange. Only I had returned to my normal size. Everything else was still its original size. Perhaps it's because the amplification system and the reduction system are a bit different. Anyway, this thing they call a system is already quite magical on its own. I stood by the large window, watching the disaster survivors run out of their houses one by one.